Hello, I'm Robin Lindsay, Daymar's Commercial Partnerships Director. Welcome to the latest instalment of our Future of Work series, Leading Out of Lockdown. One of the key themes that came out of our first Future of Work event was the importance of strong leadership in forming a clear roadmap and successfully guiding people along it. As the old saying goes, you manage things and you lead people. Our individual roadmaps to recovery and growth will undoubtedly include lots of things that need to be managed. What equipment do people need at home? When should we fully open the office? Do contracts need to change? All important decisions, but ones that will succeed or fail based on the ability of leaders to bring our people along for the journey. In this video, I'll be looking at the role of post-pandemic leadership to understand how we can best meet the challenges that are out there right now. I sat down with Jim Cassell. Jim managed Manchester City's football academy for over 15 years, turning it into one of the most successful football academies in England. He's produced 39 English Premier League players, 35 Football League players, and 25 full internationals. He's got quite a unique background that includes 10 years working in local authority, but it's leadership and talent development where his passion lies. And now he travels the world as a UK football ambassador. In his time at Manchester City, Jim's worked under the direction of a varied group of managers, from the combative, strict approach of Mark Hughes to the sophisticated, soft-spoken Swedes Sven-Göran Eriksson. I started by asking him what he thinks makes a strong leader. And he explained that in his experience, whilst people may be born with certain skills and talents, great leadership characteristics are developed over time.
Leadership is unique, really, and either you like being in charge or you don't. And quite often, the most talented people are talented because of natural qualities that they're born with, that they develop, and they're not always good at imparting that knowledge, that patience, that development of talent that other people have got an ability to do. And quite often, you know, the best managers, and you know, we've only as a nation, shall we say, won the World Cup once. Sir Alf Ramsey was a fullback, so he was hardly a high-profile midfielder or goal scorer.
The same can often be said for organisations in other sectors, where good performance doesn't always immediately translate to leadership roles. No matter how talented, leaders need support and development just as much as any other colleagues. And perhaps now more than ever, their ability to adapt to the changing needs of their situation is being tested. So what support do leaders need? I asked Jim about the journey that lies ahead for leaders and managers. We agreed that there's lots to do, but he was excited about the opportunity it brings for people to reinvent their approach.
I think this is a great opportunity now. We've almost got not quite the blank canvas again, but we've got an opportunity to reinvent ourselves after the pandemic and see how good we can be, how much better can we be than before. Because without doubt, people do get into this stagnation form of management where, well, we've done it this way for years, and it may be great. I've never knocked anything that has gone on in the past. However, if you don't evolve and keep changing, you'll get left behind. You know, there's an opportunity to rethink the business, and in any form of change, the ones that rethink it well usually come out on top. So I don't think there's a panic there. I think there's a great opportunity for managers, for leaders, to now take their staff to a new level. I always think that, you know, if you were unfortunate enough to get stuck on a desert island, you know, you were shipwrecked or whatever, well, it's what you've got with you that's going to count. And that's very much the situation now. You know, if you were on a desert island, the first thing you need is safety. So there's the safety factor. You need to provide, so you need some fire, then you need to go and get some food and shelter. So there's not the principles of survival, which is what we've done as a nation, what the world has done from this pandemic, should enable managers now to recreate an opportunity for greater trust, because I'm not having to have you in there's no clock watching, because you're trying to give ownership and more responsibility to the individual. And if the individual is good, using the football analogy, if you get good individual players, you usually get a better team. So I think there's great opportunity there in that sector of our business world.
So a great opportunity to reinvent. But this brings us back to one of the key themes of our previous Future of Work panel event, building your roadmap. In that session, our experts discussed the spectrum of possibility, and the different approaches organisations were taking in relation to bringing colleagues back to the office. Jim agrees that there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, and he'd advocate taking the time to consider other options rather than just returning to business as usual.
So I think people have got to, I refer to it as Fosbury thinking, I mean, the Greeks gave us the Olympic Games and everybody went over the high bar with a Western roll. 1968, Fosbury turns up and goes over it backwards. Fosbury thinking makes a different way of looking at how you can solve a problem. So I think that's what managers have got to do now. Yes, they've got to ease people back. They're all different temperaments. You can't have a generalisation, we're going to report on Monday, whatever the date. I think everybody, and that's where you need, I would be more and more inclined to speak to individuals and then bring them into groups, because we're not actually saying, hey, you must be here by this time, otherwise you're not working as hard. We're trying to build up and get out of our staff the qualities that they brought to the business in the first place. And it's, make no mistake, businesses and people will have assets that the leaders, the managers, didn't know they had.
In my conversations with employers over the last couple of months, it's clear that for many, getting the balance right when bringing colleagues back has been fraught with challenges. And this seems to be particularly difficult where the use of furlough has meant people have been away from work for an extended period. Jim likens it to his experience of dealing with footballers returning from a long-term injury.
I would like to think that good managers will have been in touch anyhow, because that is so vital. And, using the analogy of a player being injured, yes, he needs more support when he's not part of the normal day-to-day routine. So how you manage that often depends on what result you get when he comes back, because clearly, if you do have a distance away from the business that you're in, you can start doubting, you can lose focus, there's no doubt, you can lose confidence, some people, so we do need to be aware, and that's why I think respect has to be number one in encouraging people back.
But what about once the team is back and settled? What new skills and characteristics will leaders need to develop in order to succeed in the future of work? Against the backdrop of the much reported Zoom fatigue, Jim points to time management as a key factor. Leaders giving themselves the time they need to think so that they can get the most from the time that they have with their team.
I think it's an opportunity. Using the football analogy, the best players carry space and time around with them. You can't get near them, right? The best managers, or the poorest managers, have never got any time for people. So a manager has to give answers. Also, I always felt when I was working, I used to say this, that I was at my best when I wasn't busy. I was busy, but I was preparing to create time to manage the job and rethink the job as well. And quite naturally, you've got to create enough time for the individual, because the individual is the link in the chain that brings everything together. So time management, people who refer to time management, what is time management? Time management is being there when you need it, okay? Don't bring somebody back at 5 o'clock and say, I've got an hour. No, that's no good. Give the people the time when they need it. And I think sport gives us great analogies of that. It's you used to watch the great runners, Mo Farah, Sebco. We can go through them. The timing of their control of the race is incredible because they've done the preparation. They are so confident, it doesn't matter what they throw at them. They know when they can accelerate, they know when they can save the burst to go past people. That's very similar to management. Timing is the key, in my opinion, to everything that makes the business run properly. You can give the right answer but the wrong time.
Another common topic in my conversations with employers has been the post-pandemic war for talent. Forbes have described attrition rates that are through the roof. A global Microsoft study tried to quantify that and found that nearly half of the people they spoke to were considering leaving their current employer this year. Here's Jim's thoughts on the importance of people feeling valued.
Yeah, I think mentoring is going to be really important. Mentoring and patience, and we've used the word respect. I think that is so important. And you're absolutely right, because people have got to get the confidence back again. Imagine, you can put a scenario together where somebody just started at a company, basically not known by anybody. They've been furloughed for whatever reason, or for the reasons that we've talked about. and now he's got to go back again. So, there's going to need to be an awful lot of in-house love, if you like, because people are going to need to be feeling really, really valued again. And I would, if I was running a business now, I would spend all my time on nurturing the staff to make them feel that how important they are and how glad we are to be back together.
In his early days at Manchester City, Jim didn't have the environment and rewards that are now on offer to their young talent. So he recognises the challenge of retaining your best people, and he believes that giving them the opportunity to grow is a key driver.
You don't want to lose your good staff, and good staff, I'll tell you, they are so vital to any business. Don't think that you've got a talent that nobody knows about. They will. And really, one of the things I felt was my greatest achievement, hopefully when I was in the football business, was getting people to grow beyond me. Because if I'd have still been Mr. Big, the organisation wouldn't have grown. So I think that all comes back into the simple question of how do we get people back into work? It's really work with them, trust them, mentor them, give them the opportunities, give them space if they need it, give them time, but more importantly, make them feel part of safety within the job. There's no pressure. The pressure is only what you put on yourself to achieve.
It's not just our early careers talent that needs to be managed. I've spoken to several organisations who've stepped up their support and development plans for more experienced colleagues as a reward linked to retention. This reminded Jim of two players he supported at opposite ends of their career.
One of the difficulties in a development, and I don't use coaching as that. Coaching is a part of the development. It's how you develop the person. And I can think of examples. We've used Daniel Sturridge, and I'm sure he won't mind me speaking about him in a nice way. Daniel Sturridge was a terrific talent. So there was no way that I or any of the coaches could teach him anything technically. We could make him a better person. We could let him grow up naturally. And that, of course, is what he did. It was no use trying to tell Daniel Sturridge how to go past people. He could do it for fun. However, we could encourage him to play in the right areas of the pitch and to have a responsibility, which is a massive word, I use it all the time, to know his role on that pitch and his responsibility to his teammates. So that to me was development. Another example, Joey Barton, who to me was great. Right? I sometimes I speak to him on a regular basis. I'd like to think I'm part of his mentorship team. I think he's got a great chance of being a top class coach or manager. And we laugh and joke because I think he'll fall in a couple of potholes on the way. However, his love of football is second to none, and he was a different type of support. He was so dedicated, it wasn't true. Probably the most dedicated player I've ever worked with. And in return that he's got from his game, he deserves everything he's got. Now we're working on other issues because he's gone into management, he needs to be more patient and all the rest of it, all the things we've talked about.
I rounded off the discussion by asking Jim for a final tip on how to release the potential talent in a team and what impact he felt this could have. Here's what he had to say.
Create the pathways, which we did, the opportunity. Release potential, which is one of the most difficult things I think that companies do not do enough of. We get roadblocks in the system of people's development, which caps their own development by this thinking, there's no point in doing that because we're not going to get rewarded anyhow. So yeah, everybody wants to be associated with success and they do go the extra mile for that. So that's what you create. You create every single person. When I was at Manchester City, in my opinion, believed that they were the most important member of staff in our academy. And I think that's an achievement.
So that brought my conversation with Jim to a close. We talked about some of the key challenges for leaders right now. 1, successfully transitioning people back from furlough or remote colleagues back to the office by supporting them to reverse skills atrophy, develop new competencies that are fit for the future of work, and giving proper thought to their wider well-being. 2, adapting their leadership approach to the new situations they find themselves in. And 3, retaining and developing talent to maximize engagement and increase loyalty. Just as we found with our roadmap panel session, the key seems to be finding the right balance for you and your organisation. As Jim puts it, Fosbury thinking. At Daymar, we can help support you with your individual recovery and rebuilding process. So please do get in touch if you'd like to discuss things further. I hope this latest instalment of our Future of Work series has given you some food for thought. Thanks for watching, and look out for our next session coming soon.